I always marvel and am amazed when groups of people who try to take their own path and carve it out in the world as if it's the only path that's there. It's just an unnecessary notion for people to champion that as like, you need to learn outside the academic system. Can you learn entrepreneurship outside the academic system? Can you learn it in alternative online learning institutions? Can you learn it by leaving school after high school, or by leaving school midway through your post-secondary career and never coming back? 100% you can, of course. Can you also learn it, and can you also become a successful entrepreneur by adapting things that you've learned and understood throughout the academic experience? Can you adapt things that are throughout your corporate experience? You absolutely can. And I can tell you that in our community of entrepreneurs, there are so many of them that will come back to the school as alumni with very successful companies. And they'll talk about how there was a key, moment where a light went on for them in terms of something that they could do, or a method or a model in terms of how they could, build out a company or a concept that came from a very particular class and a very particular professor. So I don't see the need for there to be this hostile kind of either or type relationship. I'm not going to sit and say that the only way to be successful is to pursue a post-secondary academic career. No, I'm not going to tell you you have to do it pursuing your master's or your PhD or that type of thing. But neither am I going to support people who are talking about the fact that that's a silly place to go, or a place where you don't need to do that. There's a lot of people actually that are phenomenal entrepreneurs that later will come back and take their executive MBA because they realize that they've done all sorts of things in their life where they haven't understood finance in any real way, or they haven't understood, maybe they've had an opportunity to sell their business, and then they realized only too late that they probably sold it for half of what they could have sold it for if they had more deeply understood some aspects of business. Or they realized that they learned everything that they did on their own, but there would have been ways to accelerate things faster if there were things that they weren't sitting relying all the time on external experts or advisors for, or that they could have a deeper conversation with those advisors because they had other sets of principles to work with. It's interesting to me that a lot of the programs will have entrepreneurs who have been very successful who come back at the executive level and continue to study and continue to add into that aspect of what they're doing. So yeah, I don't think it's an either or. I think that there's many paths to that point. And the reality is, for a whole group of people, they're going to take a path where initially they're going to start a career track, and then their entrepreneurial journey is going to happen 4, 5, 6, 7 months down the road. We have all kinds of entrepreneurs from the Schulich ecosystem that are extremely successful food or consumer packaged goods entrepreneurs. Do you think they started straight out of high school, straight out of school? They could have. It's not impossible. But guess what? A whole bunch of those extremely successful individuals started with consumer packaged goods careers in some of the biggest companies in the country, and then learned the craft from the inside and realized they could absolutely do it on their own. And then they went out and created their own category and created their own business. So there's a lot of ways that people acquire the knowledge or the insights or the networks that allow them to go out and to have greater success. How many entrepreneurs have we both likely met who are in earlier stages of life who are saying, I really got to find a co-founder who can help me fill in this part of the puzzle? They have yet to establish their network. They have yet to go through and have their graduating class ascend into really interesting jobs and opportunities, to have the contacts for people to make those introductions, right? There's so many other benefits that really come to the table in terms of your post-secondary education, your career, and how those can influence and unlock doors for you as an entrepreneur down the road. So I just think people should think about that as well and not get fixated on one individual path. Yeah. We need as many entrepreneurial concepts as we can muster and generate in the country. So let's allow all the paths that create innovation and create an entrepreneurial mindset flourish, and let's welcome them all to the table.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, as an entrepreneur, one of the biggest challenge I see right now for new aspiring entrepreneurs is to weeding out the noise. Like there's a lot of noise out there. And I think it's great on one side, of course, there's so much more access to information. And I wouldn't be surprised if even, I mean, I follow some of the projects from the Schulich startups. And I wouldn't be surprised if those founders have something to teach the professors about those specific little, like the blockchains and the cryptos, right? There's little nuances.
Oh, hell yeah, man. 100%. Like that's like, if people ask me, like, what is some of the fun part of being a job, of having been a founder and being here in the school, I'm learning from the students all the time. They're unlocking like new ideas and teaching things. And I think that the future of education needs to be based on the understanding that the students have as much to bring to the table and to teach and to share as the professors do. Also, I think we have to understand that the next wave of students are already something that I like to, refer to. Maybe many people have used this term, but I just use it as if it's my own. What I call quadruple hybrids, right? So, and that is that these are young people who live and breathe technology because they've grown up with it all around them in their lives. They approach the world from a design thinking service model perspective. They can tell you the way a restaurant or an operation should work differently in the digital age, or how something should be designed physically in an environment if they were to think like that. They've grown up on social media, and so they're natural marketers. They know how to tell their stories, tell their own stories on Instagram and Twitter or wherever they hang out, or TikTok, and they're thinking about how to visually and verbally illustrate points that they're making or the stories that they're telling. And then lastly, we're in a generation where self-investing and business models and money and how it's made is something that people don't shy away from, and they embrace and they look at. So you've got these waves of students coming now that are this quadruple hybrid. So you need to have a different type of educational environment, a different type of relationship with them as a professor sitting with them, because you do need to realize that they're bringing some like incredible things to the table into the classroom that you may never have experienced or taught about. And before you know it, they're going to be teaching you a new application and like saying, well, what if we did it like this? You should, and if you're going to connect with them and you're going to have a great experience that they enjoy, you should be ready to learn every day from them as much as they're ready to learn from you.
And do you feel like the academia and Schulich in particular, the business school, is it adjusting and kind of reinventing itself as well to be more aligned with the new worldview that the incoming graduates have and the new relationship with technology that they have?
Well, everything is like a transformation right now in the academic space. I think Schulich is doing really, really well in that regard. And I think that, we have a whole history in the school with like a dean who was now our dean emeritus, Dean Horvath, who was legendary of looking ahead of the curve, seeing innovation and bringing in a different way of doing things. So our history of experiential education, for example, which is now the buzz all over the country and what everyone wants to talk about, is we are deep down that path, and we've been there for like decades. And the original courses and programs that he brought in were right there. Now we have a new dean who is even more deeply connected to the innovation mindset and the innovation sector and the tech sector and new ways of teaching and learning. So I think the school is just has a history that was there already, but is now in an even more powerful wave of transformation. And that's why you'll see that people are now, announcing in all sorts of parts of the world, when they're announcing that they've been accepted into Schulich and they're coming to the school, they're already talking about which courses they're coming to take and how they're coming to join the Schulich startup community and some of the specific, opportunities that they see and how that's going to translate for them in terms of like joining the tech and innovation ecosystem in Toronto. So yeah, I think we're like doing really well. We're only at the tip of the transformation in terms of what we're going to do. We're going to keep changing and growing and evolving every year and building more and more incredible things.